Oh, he's making a list. He's checking it twice. Are the Tar Heels naughty or nice?
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked on Tar Heels.
You are Locked on Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, December 25th, 2024. That means I need to say to you, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Coach Pat Kilby. Welcome into the Locked on Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade, as I just alluded to, joined today by our good buddy, Coach Pat Kilby. Pat, is great to be together celebrating the birth of the Lord, man. I'm excited to talk Carolina basketball as we celebrate that. You're joining us, folks, at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making us your first listen or watch as you're like trying to avoid your family or opening presents or whatever it is you're doing this Christmas. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Special shout out to all you everydayers, the Locked On Tar Heels insiders, and our Locked On Tar Heels Discord family. Y'all, it's great to be together. Here's what's going on today. We're going to look at Santa's nice list, what's Carolina doing well, Santa's naughty list, what's Carolina not doing so well, and then our wish list. What do Pack and I have on our wish list, our Christmas gift list for the rest of the basketball season? A fun little Christmassy show, Pack. I don't know. Let's get into it. Starting with the nice list. Let's be happy first because it's Christmas Day. So Pack and I are each going to pick one thing in each of these. If we've got time, we'll do some honorable mentions as well. Pack, what is working well for the Tar Heels? What's on the nice list?
Well, for me, I want to talk about the mental hurdle that we kind of jumped over with the win over UCLA. It's like we've been on the cusp of winning some big, quad one games and just haven't quite gotten it done, or we've dug ourselves too big of a hole we couldn't quite climb out of. And getting that win against UCLA, I think we maybe finally cleared that hurdle. Hopefully we've cleared that hurdle. But it's the perfect time, right, for us to do that, to get a win like that. Now, hopefully that can kind of springboard us moving forward. It gets us a quality win and lets us have some confidence built up as we head into ACC play. So I think that is something that's been huge for Carolina is just picking up that win. And I look forward to seeing how that kind of springboards us moving forward.
Yeah, because honestly, and you and I have talked about this, others have talked about it, it doesn't clear up all the things that have been going wrong. There's still lots and lots and lots to fix, but just getting the win in a very similar scenario to other games that they've lost this year, like Kansas, like Michigan State, like Florida earlier last week, Pack, right? Like just doing that is so massive. And look, you've got the 5 losses. We deal with that. But this propels you into an ACC where you feel like you can rack up a bunch of wins if things are going well. So I'm right with you, man. I think clearing that mental hurdle is so critical for what this team is trying to do. Pack, on my nice list, I've got 3 letters for you. I-A-N. Ian. Ian Jackson is what's working well for the Heels. How about this, Pack? In Ian's first 5 games of his Carolina career, remember he missed the American game, so that was the first 6 games of the 12 games Carolina has played so far. Ian never played 20 minutes in those first 5 games he played. He had double figures twice with a high score of 11. His rebounds in those 5 games, 1, 2, 2, 1, and 3. So like fine start as a freshman, but Pack, since then, in the most recent 6 games, which are all against high majors other than LaSalle, he's played 20-plus minutes in all 6 of them, including a career-high 32 against UCLA on Saturday. He's had double-digit points in 5 of those 6 games. Oddly enough, the only one he didn't was the LaSalle game, including scoring 20 or more points for the first 2 times of his career. And his rebounds, I just said the first 5 games, 1, 2, 2, 1, and 3. His most recent 6 games rebounding, 4, 5, 2, 7, 1, and 4. Has had more than 3 in 4 of the most recent 6 games. Pack, he's made a 3-pointer in every game of his college career. He has the highest 3-point percentage on the team at 42.5%. And that's on the second most attempts per game on the team behind only RJ Davis. He's got great confidence. He's not afraid of the moment. There's a lot of ways in which you could look at this and say Ian Jackson is the best thing going for Carolina right now. Pack, agree or disagree?
Totally agree. I think he's been really good. And it's to the point now where I think I speak for pretty much everybody when I'm like, we kind of need him we want him on the court more. Because when you look at it, like obviously he's been producing, but he's something we desperately need because he's a shot creator, right? And it feels like when some of our other guards try to do what he does, it's really unsuccessful, or it turns out to be more like selfish or whatever. But Ian is very talented. He's capable of creating his own shot. He's capable of getting to the paint and creating for others. He does that as well as anybody. And like you said, he's been really efficient from behind the arc. And so he's doing things for Carolina that no one else is doing, right? He's doing a lot of the things that we thought RJ was going to be doing this year, and we haven't fully gotten that from him. And so Ian's covered a lot of that ground, and he's been really good for Carolina.
And what would be nice is, if other guys could get, like, if RJ could be RJ along with Ian, man, that just becomes a wildly dynamic duo that you start looking at and thinking, good grief, what are all the possibilities if these dudes could all start clicking together? It hasn't really happened yet, but Pac, I still think there's enough ahead. I mean, Carolina's played 12 games. They've got 20 more. Campbell on Sunday, and then 19 more ACC games. So the majority of the season is still ahead to get that figured out.
Yeah, absolutely. And for as hard as I've been on Carolina this year, I feel like there's more than half the season left, but there's also a lot of new pieces here, people playing new roles. So maybe it's taking some time to find our groove, and maybe that's starting to happen. So we'll see moving forward. But yeah, if we get both of them playing, their brand of basketball, that what we've come to expect from RJ alongside what Ian's doing, and then, an improved Seth Trimble, golly, I mean, that just makes our backcourt nearly impossible to defend.
Yeah. And critical to that is Elliot's gotta lead the charge better than he's been doing recently, right? Like, and he knows, like, that's not me saying anything that nobody knows, right? Like, it's just honest and true. And I think that's critical in that as well. And again, the pieces are there, and we've seen, you mentioned that the players kind of figuring out their roles more. I think the coaching staff is maybe just now really starting to figure out what they want and need in terms of personnel groupings and how they all work well together. Pac, I went back and looked at it. There were 23 different lineup combinations on Saturday against UCLA. 20 of those 23 combinations featured what I would call four guards and a big, and that combination of four guards would be four of these six: Elliot, Cadeau, RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, Cade, Tyson, Drake, Powell, and Ian Jackson. 20 of the 23 lineups featured four of those six in some capacity, and only three of the lineups had two of Jalen Withers, Jalen Washington, Van Allen Lubin, and Ty Claude. And so that shows me that the coaching staff is starting to figure out more of what they want to do personnel wise.
Definitely. Yeah. I think going back to the UCLA game, I think that was maybe a turning point for the coaching staff. And I mean, to your point, 20 of those 23 lineups were four guard lineups. So I really hope we see a lot more of that going forward. I think we're at our best. We're at our best when we're smaller, more athletic, more shooting on the floor, and more so playing to our strengths.
Yeah. I'll get ahead to Campbell a little bit. Pac, I was doing my research on Campbell earlier today as we record this, which obviously we'll talk more about that on Friday's show. But Campbell, of their top 10 players in terms of minutes per game, none of them are taller than 6'8". So I think it's going to provide a big opportunity for Carolina to utilize some of that. Although Campbell is bigger than Carolina in the backcourt, not having much size in the front court is going to really allow Carolina to continue to try out some four guard opportunities. So we'll be watching for that. One other honorable mention on the nice list here, Pac, is attack mode. And I think that kind of the four guards opportunities really plays into that more, with Carolina getting to the free throw line as much as they can. It's been a weapon. They had a season high 35 free throw attempts against UCLA. I think we need to see more and more and more of that, because not only does it help out Carolina, it also puts opposing players in trouble, like Tyler Bilodeau from UCLA, who was just carving up Carolina. Him going to the bench in the second half was critical to the Tar Heels winning that game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah, I did, Pack. Merry
Yep.
Christmas to me. Okay, that's the happy side of things. What we need to look at next is what's on the Tar Heels naughty list. What things still need to be fixed and framed and checked out and all of that good stuff. That's where we're going to answer next. We'll get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you about game time, going to college basketball games, man, during the holidays is one of my absolute favorite things to do, whether it's like getting up to Madison Square Garden for the CBS Sports Classic, whether it's this game coming up Sunday against Campbell, man, the game that's in between Christmas and New Year's. It's always so much fun. And honestly, any type of live event during the holidays is great to be able to get to. And the good news is that Game Time can help you get the best tickets, whether it's sports or anything else live. And right now, during this holiday season, Game Time is focused on togetherness, meaning that when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better. And it's the perfect gift, maybe something that you hopefully used for loved ones today. How about coming up Saturday? Carolina has their bowl game, the Fenway Bowl, actually at Fenway Park. Tickets right now I found as cheap as $40 for this thing. Also, Pack, how about this? There are tickets up on the Green Monster. You can sit up on the Green Monster and watch this bowl game, Carolina against UConn. That would be rad. Man, go check it out if you want to go up to Boston. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms do apply. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. Oh boy, Pack, we just got to leave the nice list and go look at our friends that are on the naughty list. And in today's exercise, we're talking about, in that regard, what issues remain for the Tar Heels? What is not going well that Santa would put on his Carolina basketball naughty list?
Well, for me, I think, the naughty list is the defense. And this kind of goes back to the 4-guard lineup conversation that we just had. I would love to see us do more of that and manufacture more ball pressure, speed teams up, try to turn them over, pick up full court a little bit more. Right now I feel like going into the season, with our size deficit and everything, I was thinking, golly, I don't know how well we're going to rebound the ball. And that's been kind of a staple to Carolina. Well, we don't know if rebounding is an issue or not because teams are making all their shots against us. They're scoring way too efficient. And so to me, I just think the strong suit of our team is our athleticism, our speed, our guards, quickness, the ability that we do have to create issues with our pressure. I think could cause other teams issues, and it's our strength. And I'd like to see us get to that more. When we come down into the half court setting, we give up a lot, just because there is a size deficit there. And post play is what it is at this point. So we need to play to our strengths, and I'd like to see us do more of that defensively. So for now, that's on the naughty list.
I really like your point there, Pac, that basically Carolina allowing a game to get into a half court game loses their advantage, right? And basketball is about creating advantages and utilizing them. So it kind of befuddles me as to why the Tar Heels aren't leaning into the type of defense you're talking about, because it really, like we talked about this all summer, like Carolina's going to have to go small. They're going to have to throw some defensive wrinkles in, whether it's more traps, more pressures, more zone looks, maybe just sprinkling those in just to help keep the opponent off guard, right? So, Pat, my question to you then is, if it seems to me, if it seems to you, I know Coach Rob has talked about this as well, if it seems that clear and obvious that advantage Carolina would be utilizing different defensive opportunities, why do you suspect the coaching staff isn't utilizing those as much as what would seem to give them an advantage?
That's a good question. I think the best answer I could give to that is sometimes it's purely stubbornness, right? Like sometimes it could be Coach Davis just being like, I want to be the best half-court defensive team we can be. We're going to work on that. I'm not going to bend on that. Like that is going to be who we are. And it's just not working. And maybe it's just an unwillingness to change from that. That would probably be my guess because I know that that's been kind of something he's wanted to hang his hat on the last few years. Like, oh, we're going to really get after it in the half-court defensively. But we've had more size. Like last year we had Armando and we had Harrison and even Cormac had good size, right? And we could just really be physical with teams in the half court. We weren't giving up anything. We rebounded well. That's just not the case this year. And so I'm wondering if it's not just purely just stubbornness, maybe an unwillingness to change off of philosophy that he's had in the past. And sometimes that is hard to do, right? Like if you've done something for so long and it's worked for you, then you don't want to switch off of that. But you do have to be adaptive to your personnel. So it looks like they've started to adapt to more of the forward guard stuff. So maybe they'll come around on pressure defense too.
Yeah, Pac, the defense for the Tar Heels has got to improve. Things have got to get better. I love all your takes on that. For my naughty list, I'm going to go with Carolina's negative assist to turnover ratio. Now, for the season, the Tar Heels have a positive assist to turnover ratio. But Pac, the turnovers have been up a lot lately. And so I started digging in to like the season long stuff and looking at it. So Carolina has played 12 games. They have had an even or negative assist to turnover ratio in 6 of those 12 games and a positive assist to turnover ratio, then obviously mathing in 6 other games. But here's what's interesting. The breakdown, the 6 games where they've had a negative or even assist to turnover ratio have all been against high major opponents: Alabama, UCLA, Dayton, Georgia Tech, Florida, and Auburn. The 6 games when they've had a positive assist to turnover ratio, it's been 2 of the high major opponents, Michigan State and Kansas. But then the other 4 are all the mid and low major opponents: LaSalle, Elon, American, and Hawaii. That does not bode well. And in fact, when you break it down even further, Pac, of the 8 high major games Carolina has played, they have in totality a negative assist to turnover ratio, 91 assists, 104 turnovers. That's the result of that is 0.88 assist to turnover ratio. And then in the 4 games against low and mid major opponents, it's infinitely better. 76 assists, just 30 turnovers. That's an assist to turnover ratio of 2.53. So, it stands to reason against better competition, you're probably going to have more turnovers and fewer assists, right? Like I get that. But this is a glaring difference between these 2 competition levels. So Pat Kilby, if you're looking at your team and they're having this big a discrepancy between what happens in assisted turnovers against the best competition and the not as good competition, how would you go about trying to solve this issue?
Well, based on what I've seen, the thing that stands out to me, I think a lot of our turnovers have been sloppy, but more concerning to me is that this team has not been as good as I thought they would be, or as good as I hoped they would be, about finding each other and playing connected and playing together. So I think something that, I would think of as a coach, or what I hope Coach Davis and staff are looking at, is a lot of times when I watch us offensively, I do feel like we aren't very connected, and even some points I would even go as far to say is selfish. Like we're okay in transition. Like I think we'll pitch the ball ahead and we'll go make plays. That's probably when we're our best, obviously. But when we get in the half court, I sometimes feel like it's 1 man versus 5. Like we're just trying to get downhill and go score instead of like playing connected and, getting a paint touch and swinging the ball and getting a 1 more pass for a catch and shoot 3 or, whatever it may be. We're just not doing that as well this year as we have the past few years. And I think some of that is there's maybe a little bit too much freedom offensively. We need structure, and we need different actions or sets even that are going to, help us get a paint touch and that we can play off of. So maybe some critiques from the way we approach things offensively. But I think there needs to be an emphasis on sharing the basketball more, playing together, feeding off of each other. And then the turnovers, we can clean those up. They're just, a lot of them have been sloppy. maybe over penetrating, losing our dribble, just throwing the ball out of bounds, or just catching it. A lot of times I notice we'll just catch it and throw it, and there'll be somebody in the passing lane.
Yeah.
It's like we need to probably lock in on some of those things. But really the thing that stands out to me is we need to play better and more connected on the offensive end and strive to get more assists.
Great observation. Thank you for that assessment, Pack, and talking through how you would handle that in your coaching with your team. Obviously, there are multiple other things that we could talk about with the naughty list, honorable mentions, whether it's, Cade Tyson just not living up to what we hoped from him and other things. We could carry on with that. But Pack and I have each shared ours. We would love to hear from you. What would you have on Carolina's nice list? What would you have on their naughty list for this season? Speaking of your individual list, that's where Pack and I are going to turn next. We've had Santa's naughty and nice list. What about our Christmas wish list? What are Coach Pack and I hoping to unwrap today on Christmas Day? Looking ahead for Carolina, we'll get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, the NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers, you can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many different ways for you to be able to pick up a W as we get to the end of the NFL regular season. But sticking with college football, we were talking about the Fenway Bowl earlier. Carolina favored over UConn by 2.5 points. But what's cool is FanDuel has all sorts of lines for this thing. If you want to go just strictly Carolina points, over under 27.5. You could get in and look at betting on the result of their first drive, whether it's offensive touchdown plus 195, field goal attempt plus 480, punt plus 115, or any other result plus 600. All sorts of fun ways to enjoy Carolina's game against UConn. Get in on all that action at FanDuel.com today for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, we've been looking at Santa's naughty and nice list. Now it's time to dial up Coach Pack Kilby and my own Christmas wish list for North Carolina. So, Pack, what do you have on your list that you're hoping to unwrap today on Christmas Day?
Yep, my wish list is that Carolina starts ACC play 5-0. And, obviously we've got the win over Georgia Tech, so we're already 1-0. So we need to open with 4 wins as ACC play officially opens up, full stream ahead. And the thing is I want to go all the way back to the UCLA game. Like I talked about, that is a huge mental hurdle for us, a step forward. We're 1-0 already with the Georgia Tech game. So now let's use that as a true springboard. Let's hit the ground running. Let's get to 5-0 in ACC play, kind of get settled, hit our stride, start playing some good basketball. So yeah, that's definitely the top of my wish list is a 5-0 ACC start for the Heels.
You know what's funny, Pat, because you were talking about that. I was remembering back to last year, and it's a pretty similar beginning. Remember Carolina, their earlier season ACC game was Florida State at home. They were down big in that game, came back to win in the second half to go 1-0. And then a whole bunch of road games to start the main chunk of ACC play at Pitt, at Clemson, at NC State. They swept those 3 games to win and handled them pretty well. Beat Pitt by 13, Clemson by 10, and NC State by 13 as well to get going. Here's what's so similar about that this year. Carolina struggled in that first ACC game against Georgia Tech at home. And then of these next 4 games that you're just talking about, 3 of those 4 are also on the road. At Louisville on New Year's Day, at Notre Dame, hosting SMU, which, by the way, that game is looking tougher and tougher. SMU is playing well early this season, and then at NC State. So 3 of the first 4 ACC games in the main chunk are all out on the road, so Carolina's going to have to be road warriors. Thankfully, they got a couple under their belt already playing at Hawaii, for example. And is that the only true road game? Actually, I said a couple.
I think that is the only.
At Kansas. I'm an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
But so when I said I was like, sure, there's 2 games. I know they've played 2 true road environments. Yeah. At Kansas, at Hawaii. That's going to help a lot as Carolina goes to Louisville, goes to Notre Dame, and goes to heated rivals NC State, man. We owe the Wolfpack some payback for a couple things, Pack. Football lately And let's not forget the ACC championship game last year, which they are living off of right now, by the way. And so I'm very, very ready for that basketball game, Coach Pat Kilby.
100%. Yeah. And also, just a little side note here, I'm going to be at the SMU game on the 7th. I'm taking my boys to their first Carolina game. So if y'all are there, holler at me. Would love to see some of y'all. But yes, 4-0 start. It's going to be some tough games. But Carolina is capable of winning all of them. And I would even dare to say they should win all of them. But it's not going to be easy. We're going to have to really be playing well. But I think we're capable of it.
Yeah, I'm looking at Ken Palm right now, Pack. Carolina is favored in all 4 of those games, but just by 1 point at Louisville, by 4 at Notre Dame, by 6 at home against SMU, the game you're going to be at, and just by 4 at NC State. So all these close games that Carolina has been playing in non-con, man, they're going to have to use those and ride the momentum to get those wins. For my Christmas wish list that I want to unwrap, Pack, is very simple. I just want RJ Davis back. I want the real RJ Davis. I know what I'm so grateful for is that even in the midst of him not shooting at the same level that he does, that he has in the rest of his career, he's finding other ways to help the team. For example, looking at assists, he is averaging the most assists of his career. He is averaging the second lowest turnovers per game of his career. He's averaging the most steals of his career. Rebounds is tied for the second highest rebounding average of his career. So RJ is doing a lot of things well other than that. And that shows how savvy and how veteran he is. But man, I just want it for him so badly, not just for Carolina's success, but just like he chose to come back when he could have left to go pursue. Like I know he's not an NBA guy as most people think of it, but certainly RJ has great professional opportunities if he wants to pursue them elsewhere, right? And so I just want it for him so desperately. And I think of other guys that struggled a little bit in their senior year. Like I feel like it's funny he's chasing Marcus Page's 3-point record. Remember, Marcus kind of struggled some his senior year. Kenny Williams, if I remember correctly, had some shooting struggles his senior year. Am I remembering both of those correctly, Pack, in your memory?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even Garrison Brooks, which I know different position, but didn't he go from ACC Player of the Year to just struggling?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's been a thing. But I also wonder, because a lot of the talk around RJ has been, man, if he can just play like he did last year, then he's going to become the school's all-time leading scorer and this and that. And I just wonder how much pressure he's feeling about that. And if that's taking a toll on him or not. What do you think?
I think it absolutely, because how can you not press in those moments? And I think that's probably true, as you kind of alluded to, of multiple of those other guys who, like, when you realize the weight and the gravity of this is it, man, no matter what, the choice is now out of my hands. I have to leave when this is said and done. Combine that with like, oh, Caleb's gone, Leakey's gone, Armando's gone. It's just me. And I think I would take a lot of that weight on my shoulders of like, I got to be the guy. I got to do it. And you and I know that he doesn't have to, but it just, you feel that, man, when you're coming off of being ACC Player of the Year, it builds and builds and builds. And so absolutely, I think there's something to what you're saying there, Pack. And I don't know how you help him relieve that, because no matter how much you talk about it, until you can mentally get past it, going back to, what you talked about in the first segment about Carolina getting past the mental hurdle of losing all these games, I don't know what mental trigger he's got to get past this, but I just hope he can find it.
Yeah. Well, for me, I try to put myself in a coach's perspective and say, what would I do if this was one of my players and how would I help them? And usually, and we've ran into this before, and usually what I talk about is like, focus on the defensive end. Like, let that be your focus. Let that be your concern. Establish yourself defensively. Turn defense into offense. Get to the paint, make a couple layups, see the ball go through, get to the free throw line, blah, blah, blah. And based on some of the stats you just read, it sounds like he's doing that. Like he's trying to find other ways to help the team, and he's still just struggling a little bit. Sometimes the best way to get out of a slump is to shoot your way out of it. And so he just needs to keep, playing ball maintain his confidence level, as tough as that might be. And maybe he can get out there and just shoot his way out of it and kind of hit his stride as we come into ACC play.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on that, how his shooting goes and how all the rest of RJ's numbers go as we come now into kind of the second part of the schedule. Obviously, Campbell should be a win on Sunday, and then, man, really hit the ground running starting on New Year's Day. New year, new RJ? Man, fingers crossed for that. Pat Kilby, Merry Christmas to you, to your family. Can't wait to be back together next week as we get ready to ring in 2025. Folks, to all of you, the same thing. Glad tidings. May it be a great Christmas day. Although in the same breath, let me say, I know this is a very difficult day for some of you. Maybe somebody in your family has died. Maybe you've got other issues going on in your life, and this holiday season is not a merry one for you. I just want you to know, on behalf of Pack and I, who are both men of faith, that we are thinking of you and praying for you and pray peace in your life. If that's ever something you would like to talk through or just need somebody to reach out to, man, reach out. We would love to listen and be someone that can come alongside you. I mean that very sincerely. So never hesitate, please, to come find one of us. I know that we would both love to be someone for you. All right, guys, Merry Christmas. It's so good to be together. If you haven't subscribed to the show on both YouTube and audio, make sure you do that so you don't miss a second of Locked On Tar Heels. If you haven't joined Locked On Tar Heels Discord or Insiders Program, man, we'd love to have you in both of those. The links are in the show notes. Great way to go deeper in with the show. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk to you again tomorrow, but until then, Pat Kilby, tell them a Merry Christmas version.
Peace.